Hello and welcome back to Neuropa City Zoo. I hope you all had a good week. It's currently Sunday afternoon for me right now, which is a little bit different. I usually like to get these recordings done more either, first thing in the morning or sometime during the week when our house is a little bit less busy and a little bit less noisy, but that just did not work out in my favor this weekend. So here we are. Hopefully this recording turns out okay. We have my cat's kind of up and active right now, and she was asking for cuddles and our robot vacuum is currently vacuuming the hallway outside, so hopefully there's not too much background noise. I think it should be okay, but yeah, just definitely not the most ideal conditions today. And I also tried recording this voiceover once already, and it totally failed on me, so I'm kind of like keeping an eye on the little green recording active recording button in the top corner here, kind of making sure that it doesn't just crash on me again. Hopefully we'll be okay. And hopefully I can get this done today, because I do really want to still be able to get this out this weekend. So fingers crossed this all goes well. But anyway, here we are building the enclosure that we talked about quite a bit last episode. But if you did not watch that one, this is going to be an half underwater building for some underwater viewing of two habitats that are going to be going on either side of the building here. The building and the pathway that goes into and out of the building is going to act as our kind of middle barrier there. It's a very modern style building, very square, and that helps us a ton because we get to use the grid, which is key if you want to build anything like this. Keep everything on a grid. So all of these paths are just right attached to the grid of the building itself, and that kind of lets you, do multiple floors. That, each floor is two staircases down if you do like the minimum slope staircase, so like the one right when it turns from just being a ramp into a staircase. That's what we're using here, and two of those go down exactly 4 feet, which gets you to exactly that bottom level. You can see I am having a little bit of trouble here getting that bottom level floor in, and it turns out the only reason that I was having this issue was because I didn't have like the flattened terrain on. So just make sure you have those checked off if you're doing to the grid on the ground. I ended up also tunneling just to kind of make sure that everything was flat under there, but I don't think you have to. I think just flattened terrain, if your terrain's fairly good, will do the trick there. It took me a minute to figure that out. I didn't realize that I had it turned off, but make sure you always have flattened terrain on if you're putting paths down along the grid and along the ground. But yeah, as we kind of go on here, we can talk a little bit about the styling of this building. I used some inspiration photos that I just found on Pinterest for some kind of very modern, I think what I was looking at was a house. This is obviously not a house, but I just kind of got that style of this, these dark black plaster walls that are kind of lined with this white and have kind of these wooden accents on it as well. And I think ultimately it worked out pretty nicely. It's definitely a little bit more plain than the other buildings that we have built, but I think it fits. Most of this building is going to be underwater anyway, so I really only decorate this top floor because you're not going to be able to see the rest. But I think the simplicity of it works really well. It's a good size. It's not too big. Hopefully it doesn't get too crowded in here. I don't think. I think with the way this zoo is set up, we shouldn't have too many people trying to crowd in here all the time. There's only 2 habitats to watch. We'll have quite a bit of viewing on the pathways as well, so hopefully it won't be too bad. I know I made the bear burrow building huge because we had all the exhibit animals in there. There's a ton of food and beverage. There's gonna be some food and drink in here, but not as much. But we have the 2 big habitats. All the exhibit animals are in there, so I think that area gets a lot more crowded. I'm hoping since this one is kind of out of the way, you also don't have to go this way. You can go just around our current zoo as well. So hopefully this building doesn't get too overcrowded, but we'll see how it works. So the other feature that I came up with for this building is those little balconies on the outside. We do end up having to take them down and re-put them up after we put the water in, just because that way they don't disrupt the water placement, and you can place them the water a little bit higher and closer to the platforms. But what those are going to be is little areas for our educators. So now that we have educators, I wanted to, design this habitat with them in mind, and, make sure that we have a place for them to kind of stand and talk about the animals, which I think is going to be super fun. Unfortunately, I was hoping that since we were so close to the water, and I don't know, I guess maybe I didn't really look into it properly, whether or not they can feed animals in the water, but I assumed they'd be able to throw food for them since they're literally just above the water, but they can't. I did end up trying this out after, totally finishing this building, and unfortunately they can't throw food from where they are. You must have to be on the ground, kind of like they are in our flamingo habitat, in order to throw food in, which is too bad, but I don't think it's not that big of a deal. We still have a nice little place for the education there. And yeah, lastly here we are just circling the building with a barrier here. I think I talked about this in the last video as well, but the way that we are going to be making sure that the water does not get into our building is to just surround it with this glass barrier. And there's a little bit of finagling that has to happen here, just because there's these pathways. You want to make sure that you get the glass, or I wanted to make sure that I got the glass as close to the building as possible, but you can't interfere with the paths and the barriers. So there's a little bit of, getting it close enough. I also thought, we could cover up the barriers with walls, just make the walls a little bit thicker on the outside, and it would probably cover the barriers, but in the end, once they're under the water like that, you can't really see them anyway. So I think just leaving it as is perfectly fine. I really like how, it turned out. Of course, in a build like this, there is going to be a lot of messing with water heights, with barrier heights, with path heights. It is kind of, if you're going to build something like this, just be prepared for that. As you kind of saw there, in order to change the water, you have to pull the barrier up, and then once the water is in, you can pull it back down. Paths are kind of similar. You can put paths in closer to the water if you put them in after you put the water in, but then obviously if you remove the water and try to put the water back in again, it's not going to be the same height. So I would say if you want to build something like this, just be patient, keep those kind of things in mind. Just, remember that you can get the water to the height that you want. You might just have to mess with things a little bit. Pathways, animals even. So since this body of water actually goes directly into all of our cat habitats, I had to, box up all of the cats that were swimming in order to put the water in and out of here, because if there's one kind of hanging out where the water should be going, it's not going to let you put the water in. So there's a lot of messing with it that you need to do, but it does work out in the end. So if you want to do something like this, just keep that in mind. There might be a little bit of annoying work having to be done there. But what we're building here is a little staff area, and then kind of that little box over in the corner there is just a little sheltered area for our animals. The staff area here, just kind of, it's simple. There's just, our basic staff buildings. There's a lot of area here. I figured it's just kind of like a little staff garden. I don't think it's that, it's hidden away from our guests. That's kind of the point. It takes up a bit of space, and we had a lot of empty space here. So I think it works out. It works as a good, barrier for the habitat, and a nice little area for the staff to enjoy as well. I'm still not totally sure if I'm going to build a second staff area for the second habitat, the habitat on the other side of our underwater building, or if I'm just going to kind of make a staff path that lets them go from here to there. It's not too far away, so I am kind of leaning more towards just making, just having a pathway and having them come all the way over here to use the keeper hut and all of that, but might have to just kind of play around with it a bit and see whether or not they feel like that's too far of a walk. I feel like it's going to be okay, especially if we put some kind of more, maybe a couple walls in at least, just to, block it off from the guest view and that kind of thing, but we'll see how that looks. Of course here, just to kind of help with framing this habitat, I did take some of the features from our other habitats and put them in as wall pieces there just to, keep that cohesiveness a little bit. And these walls were meant to be, barriers for the habitats again. However, I end up putting our sea otters into the habitat that's done here. Our seals are going to go in the second habitat, and that'll be next episode. I will film detailing that habitat and everything. But in this episode, the habitat that we're finishing is for our sea otters. And I don't know, I was reading up on it a little bit, and it sounds like other people are also having the same issue, but they just swim right through those underwater walls. Like, it's not even like they're swimming over them because there's like any little bit of a gap, or that they're swimming under them because there's a gap. You watch them, they just swim right through, which is allowing them to escape. So that's something that we're going to have to solve, or, maybe it's just a bug that's going to get fixed. But yeah. For now, I'm just kind of ignoring it and enjoying the habitat for what it is, but that is definitely a problem that we're probably going to have to tackle sooner rather than later. But yeah, as you can see, I'm kind of outlining the habitat here, and this is a very large habitat, so a little bit different than what we've been going for so far in this zoo, which was, compact and, made a little bit more sense. I don't know... Yeah, I'm a little bit iffy. I was thinking that maybe it doesn't really fit the theme as well because it is so big, but maybe you can let me know what you think. I didn't really want to just put a barrier up in the middle of the water just for the sake of it, just to make the habitat smaller. I think maybe it kind of works here just because of this, there is such a big water feature. Like, why not let the otters swim all the way through it? There's no escape points, so like those railings on the pathways make it so they can't get up there. Over near the gardeny areas in the far back of there, those edges are tall enough that they can't get up over there. So yeah, it's just kind of a really large space for them, but I figure if we end up getting enough otters in here to kind of fill it out, maybe it'll work out. I don't know. Let me know what you think. But yeah, the last kind of, I do a little bit of detailing here in this building. I do a lot more off camera. You'll see at the very end, but just in general, we are putting in some food and beverage services into the bottom 2 floors here, just to kind of encourage them to come down here more than anything. I think we have also, once our zoo grows a little bit, I think we will need some more food and drink spots for our guests. But I was hoping these would help encourage guests to come down here, because I don't think they have any like intrinsic I don't think they have any instinct to go and view from underwater just for the sake of viewing from underwater. I think they need a reason to come down here. So that was one of my main motivations for putting in the food down here is, get them down here, then they can look at the animals underwater. Since there is a lot of overwater viewing already, I'm not sure if they would come down here just in order to see underwater. So yeah, that's mainly why I wanted to put some food and drink, and they're just on the bottom 2 levels. I didn't put any on the top, just to hopefully get them coming all the way down here to look at our animals. But yeah, the time lapse is coming up to an end here, so pretty soon here we'll get right back into it. I do end up doing a lot more detailing off camera, you'll see. For the next habitat, I will do that detailing on camera. That's kind of what I was thinking. This time lapse has been plenty long enough that we didn't need to, go over with all of the detailing, but we'll kind of show that habitat detailing in the next episode anyway. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this fun little time lapse, and let's just jump right into the gameplay. And here is our finished habitat. So we are obviously having some issues right now. It was just snowing and everybody got very upset about it. It stopped snowing. We should be okay. But anyway, so here we are. So essentially we have the guests seem to be doing a pretty good job walking all the way around here to get to the building, which I wasn't totally sure if they were gonna get bored and start walking back or not part way through. But I did add some viewing screens and donation bins along here just because they do tend to stop here. There's currently nobody stopped here, but they had been stopping there, so I put those in just in case. But yeah, here is our otter habitat. This is all totally done now. The only thing is we do have a couple of issues with our otters. So first issue that I found was this plants thing. So I have enough coverage. I could always add more coverage, but you know, this is okay. However, the plant type and coverage is severely inappropriate for this animal. And I don't have any red plants in here. There's nothing in here giving an issue. So yeah, I don't know. I did kind of read somewhere that was like a problem that a few people had. Maybe a bug that just hasn't been fixed yet. Somebody suggested getting rid of all the plants and replanting them. Maybe I'll do that if it really becomes a problem, but I think for now I am just going to leave it. I'm not too concerned. I did have to raise these walls up a little bit here. I think it might need a little bit of cleaning. Oh, actually it looks okay. But over here, I think I need to add in these, the little ledge here. But yeah, in general, I did need to raise that once they had some babies. The otters have already had babies. And the babies could escape out there. The adult ones could not. But now I think we are good for habitat escapes other than the buggy one. So let's see. Yeah, okay, nobody's escaped yet. But if we click on one of these cute little ones over here, we can see that there are no highlighted escape points. So that is excellent. However, they are probably going to escape anyway. I'm going to try to catch it on camera because I want to show this. But yeah, it's really actually quite annoying. They can essentially, they've been just swimming right through here and somehow getting to the other side, even though, if I can get in here maybe, yeah, you can see in here, kind of, it's a little bit of a tight squeeze. But I put in a concrete barrier under here just because the wall was not working and the concrete barrier was not working, so I lined the top of it with rocks and they have still managed to get through here. So I don't know, it must be some kind of a bug. If it is really giving us an issue, I might just line this whole thing with rocks, but we'll have to see whether or not that actually remains being an issue. Yeah, somebody escaped. So this guy definitely just escaped through this wall. Somehow or another. I don't know. It doesn't show me that there's any escape points. But... oh, now it's... yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. Honestly, I think... I'm gonna keep taking a look at it and see... oh, not the snow again. Everybody gets so upset when it snows. But yeah, anyway, so that is a bug that maybe I'll try to fix. It's gonna be kind of tough. But yeah, he's getting moved back. This way his welfare is low. But yeah, overall, I kind of enjoyed this habitat. It's, you know, not the most beautiful thing in the world, but they've got their little jetty sticking out over there. They've got these little islands because they did need more kind of land with plant coverage. So I just kind of made a couple of artificial islands up here, and they have run on it. It's kind of cute to see them running around on the islands as well. Oh yeah, the other issue that we are having is apparently this is not close enough to the habitat, even though it is inside of the habitat. So that's unfortunate. I'm gonna have to, maybe this will just be a viewing platform and we'll think about a different way to incorporate the education. I have a feeling I'm gonna have to, I don't know if I'm going to have to do something with the land or what exactly. I don't know, or maybe that's also just a bug and we're just having quite the issues with this otter habitat. But yeah, I think I'm gonna solve a few of these problems, wait until it's sunny again, and we will finish off this video. Alright, here we go. The weather is a little bit nicer now. Yeah, during that time we just had a ton of escapes. Honestly, I don't know. I'm gonna try just covering this with, totally covering these exits up with rocks and see what happens, but you know, there's one already escaped there. It's just, it doesn't make any sense to me. I just don't really understand. It doesn't show where they're escaping. It doesn't show that they can get over there. It's very confusing to me. I don't get it. But hopefully that's just kind of a bug that will end up being fixed sooner rather than later. Yeah, I don't love that they can just phase right through those walls. I don't know. I don't really know how to solve that problem. Let's try to find some more babies to end off on. Oh yeah, there they are. Okay. Cutie, let's take a look at you. Oh, I do love these guys though. That is just, he's so absolutely adorable. But yeah, with that, I think this is where we're going to end this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed building this habitat with me. I know most of this episode was a time lapse. A little bit different than normal, but when we have big habitats to build like this, that's kind of how it ends up having to go. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Next episode, we will be making the other habitat, which is going to be for the seals, and I'll film more of the detailing on that one, just so that, if you don't totally miss out on how I detail my habitats. Sleeping, so cute. Okay, anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Of course, as always, give me any suggestions, feedback, anything you have in the comment section below, and I will talk to you in the next episode.